Hi, Shane here. We've done some huge changes to the way notification groups are configured by default, and we've given you the opportunity to be able to apply these changes to your existing setup. And so in this video, I want to cover what these changes are, why they're so important to you, and why we'd recommend that you do it. But if you don't want to spend the 10 minutes watching this video, my recommendation is to click on the links and hit the apply change buttons to the notification groups. And the reason for it is that it will make your vaccines safer. So what we've identified is there's a potential for your loggers or your gateways to be offline, and you've told us not to remind you that there's a problem. And so we want to eliminate that. We want to be reminding you that there's a potential problem, and that's what these changes do. But here we go. Let's dive in and have a look. Clever Logger basically is designed just to notify you of problems. So if your fridge or your freezer is too hot or too cold, we will immediately notify you of that problem. And in fact, we can notify as many people as you like. So you can have multiple users in your system free of charge. That's part of Clever Logger. You can also have it go to email. You can have it go to your phone to notify you there. And in the foreseeable future, we're going to be having things like SMS and phone calls. So we will notify you in as many different ways as possible to make sure that you know that there's a problem. Clever Logger also allows you to have as many loggers as you like. So you can be monitoring multiple fridges, and then if one of them has a problem, that can notify people. If another one has a problem, it will notify people. So that's what Clever Logger does now. But where things start to get a little bit messy is when you start to have a lot of loggers and a lot of people using the system. So in this case, just having 3 loggers and 3 different ways of notifying people means that you suddenly end up with all these different combinations. And so what we did was we introduced the concept of notification groups or user groups to try and simplify how the system is configured. So instead of focusing on individual users, we group them together. And so now we've got this notification group, and all the users within that notification group are basically just treated as the one group. And so what that means is now if you've got something that's, say, too hot, you send the message to the notification group, and from the notification group, it then gets forwarded onto all the different users that are within that notification group. What I need to stress is that for small sites, it just works. It's there, it's largely behind the scenes. You don't care too much about it. But for big sites, it hugely simplified things, and it allowed us to be able to have a lot of loggers that would go to one group and a different bunch of loggers go to another group or whatever, and it made things simpler. There's a special notification group that's in the system. It's called the default notification group. And the reason why it's special is because, firstly, we automatically create it with every new site. So you don't do this, you just add a new site, there's a new notification group. And what we do is we use that default notification group on every new location and gateway that you add to the system. So that way there's always a notification group that's going to be used if there's a problem. You can turn that notification group off, you can add other notification groups, you can use other notification groups with your gateway and location, but this is the default one. And when you automatically add a new user, they automatically get added to the default notification group. And if they then jump on their phone, then we'll also record that against the notification group. Everything's great, it's simple, it's efficient for small sites, it works wonders, everything was good. Except we realized with feedback from users and watching how the system's being used, that it's opening ourselves up to a problem. And to understand what that problem is, I need to now extend on and talk about repeat notifications. So what repeat notifications are is, we send a notification to a notification group, and then we send the alarm out to your phones or your emails or whatever the case may be. But we don't just do it once. We do it over and over and over again. And the reason for it is really, really simple. We don't just tell you that there's a problem, we remind you that you've got a problem. And we will continue to remind you until either you acknowledge that there's a problem, that is simply just acknowledge the alarm and say, yes, I know about it. Or you fix the problem. That is, if it's too hot, you bring the temperature back down to within range, or if it's too cold, warm it up. If it's offline, then you reconnect it, make sure it's all working. So you can either be reminded until you acknowledge that there's a problem, or be reminded until you fix the problem. And this is where we started to discover our lack of forethought. So acknowledgement is awesome for your phone because it will wake you up and you go, yes, I know about this problem. Stop annoying me. Let me get back to sleep, whatever the case may be. So you acknowledge the alarm and it stops beeping your phone, and that's great. But the problem is, if that's the option that you're choosing, then you acknowledge it and we stop reminding you, and it means that you never get around to fixing it. And so there's a lot of offline loggers and gateways where someone's acknowledged the alarm but hasn't actually fixed the problem, and we're no longer reminding you. In hindsight, the solution was obvious. What we should have had was 2 default notification groups. And so from now on, the way the system works is that as soon as you add a new site, we automatically create a default phone notification group and a default email notification group. So they now both exist for new sites moving forwards. And so we also then change the settings within those notification groups and how they're being used. So for the phone one, we will do frequent repeating. So that is, we will make your phone beep every 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever to get your attention. Meanwhile, we've slowed the emails down hugely. So rather than sending you an email every 15 minutes or half an hour, what we do is we basically once every 12 hours or 24 hours or whatever the defaults are, we'll send you a reminder email. And the logic behind that is that the phone is there to get your attention and to respond. Whereas if we send you an email, it's going to be sitting there in your inbox waiting for you to look at it anyway. So we don't have to send you an email every 15 minutes. But what we do need to do is, if you haven't fixed it within 24 hours, send you a reminder. So frequent repeats, slow repeats. And then when it comes to the alarms, we will do it until you acknowledge the phone group or until you fix it for the email group. Now, keep in mind, these are the defaults. You can go in and change them to whatever you feel like. Phone until you acknowledge, email until you fix it. Putting it a slightly different way, with the phone notification group and the way the alarms are set up, we basically just want to pester you until we know that you know. And if you don't like the concept of being pestered, then what we're doing is pestering your staff instead until we know that they know that there's a problem, and then we'll start to fix it. But the focus with the email is to remind you. We're not going to be in your face all the time. We are going to just remind you each day that there's a problem and it needs to be fixed. And we will remind you and remind you and remind you until you fix the problem. There's 2 ways to stop those emails from going out. One of them is to fix the problem, and that's what we hope you do. But if you don't want that email because the gateway is meant to be offline or whatever the case may be, then you need to go in and actually turn the alarm setting off. So you can't just acknowledge it and have the alarm go away. You actually need to go into Cleverlog and say, I don't care about this alarm, and turn it off. So as I said, the default notification groups are available now. But this is the big thing. You need to go in and apply this to your existing sites. And so the way you do it is to go in. We've sent you links through to your notification groups. Click on those links, and then you will find a button that says split notification group and apply defaults. So you need to go through each of your notification groups and do that. Now, if you want to do it manually, if you click on settings and you click on notification groups, then you will be able to view the notification groups. You'll see the list. And then if you view the notification group, there's now a button. This screen capture is slightly out of date, but what you can see is that there's a default notification group, split option down the bottom of the screen. Push on that and that will split it. Now, to be really specific on what it will do. It will first of all create 2 notification groups out of one. It will move all the emails from one notification into one group, and all the phones into the other group. So you're going to have an email group and you're going to have a phone group out of this one group. And then it's going to go to all the locations, and it's going to go to all the gateways. And wherever that notification group is being used at the moment, it will then apply both groups, and then it will change the repeat and the stop condition on those two. So everything that we've talked about, those changes will be applied. If you don't understand what I've just talked about, my recommendation is either just do it or give us a call. We'll explain it further, and we'll possibly just go through and do it for you. But it is super, super critical that you actively give it some thought. Some of you may have sites where you've changed it because of specific reasons, in which case we can't help you. You need to decide how to use this information. But for the majority of you, jump in, go to your notification groups and split the notification groups into 2. I promise that it will head off some potential support issues down the line and make life easier. For some of you, it will make absolutely no difference because your locations are never offline. But yes, please take the time, apply these changes. And if you've got any questions, give us a call, 0296146417, or send us an email, team@cleverlogger.com. So thanks a lot for your time. And yeah, please give this some thought. Thank you.